Okay.
Okay, thank you so much everybody for listening to us. Sorry to interrupt the discussion, and this discussion is in two parts because last time we were having this discussion, but something came in between and we have to reschedule our meeting. But the discussion was so important that we have to cut into two parts of that discussion. And I think there's a lot of the discussion is about gun violence in the schools and school and academic places. And I think is that every day we are listening that a lot of incidents are going on in our in our institution, in our in any kind of area. But the thing is that, like in part one, we were discussing about, like Jay's mentioned a very important aspect of gun, that a lot of time we use these weapons to protect ourselves. But the thing is that how it's not more like that how we are who is going to do what with it. The thing is that why we are not having any kind of law or any kind of administration to, you could say, to look into aspect that what a person is going to do with that, or other person, whether the person is capable of using that arm, or where the person is going to use that arm, because a lot of monitoring is going to, a lot of discussion is needed for that thing. So what is your opinion about that, Jay, that a person should be, you could say, monitor very closely who have that arm, or what we can do about that? Because if a person is taking arm, it's not necessary that that person is taking that arm for his own protection. Someday who will use that against somebody else as well. So what is your opinion about that?
Yeah, this is a common discussion here in the States, and there's a lot of people going back and forth, and gun laws, amending gun laws is a hot topic of conversation. And my thought is this, is that I do believe that people should have a right to bear arms. That is one of the things that our country in particular is founded on, and I do believe that. However, I do feel like there could be more stringent a more stringent application process that that needs to be put in place to mitigate some of these things. I do think that there should be a more thorough background check. You have to get a background check, and you have to make sure that things are cleared. They can't sell guns to somebody who has a previous record. However, I do think that it is important to check the wellness of a human being. I think that there should be a series of tests that any individual who's looking for a gun, a firearm, for whatever the purpose is, I think that there needs to be a longer process. Maybe the process is 6 to 9 months. Maybe they apply to have a weapon. They have to take tests to make sure that they can operate the machinery correctly. Maybe that looks like they're doing a psychiatric evaluation, and then they have to sort of wait during that period. And I think that there should be multiple facets where those requirements are checked off by multiple people. I think that creates a little bit more accountability. Now, do I think that will protect everybody and change everything? No, there are going to be irresponsible people doing irresponsible things with these guns, but I do think that it could potentially mitigate some people who go out and are emotional when they purchase a gun, or they're going through a difficult season of life when they purchase a firearm, and use them irresponsibly. So I do think that the process here should be a little bit lengthier. And I think that we are actually doing a disservice to people who may be struggling with their mental health by equipping them with a firearm that maybe they are not prepared to use or adequately trained to use, and where maybe could be asking different sets of questions.
And but what I think is that like in the recent incident in the Texas, that a child was, or maybe the person was 18 years old. So I think maybe by preventing, one thing could be, you should check that what is the age of the person who is holding that gun or that arm, and why he's holding. Because I know maybe a lot of things are getting illegal things, but if you could put a lot of text on these things so that it is not accessible for those people who are not earning yet, so maybe this could be a way to prevent these kind of things and these kind of immature act. But when you start doing this discussion, then you are going to have some kind of, you could say, some kind of solution to this problem. But like we have seen in the papers that there was some kind of discussion was going some kind of, you could say, in an area which could be nobody have access to that discussion, and that was closed doors discussion, and nobody is going to know what that institution have taken preventive measure about that thing. So
Mhm.
if we start taking opinion about of other people, if we start taking opinion of the teachers, of the parents about having these things, because it's not just about uh, you could say harming other people. Sometimes those people who are capable of doing that, those people are also capable of harming themselves as well. So
Yeah.
it's a both way, you could say war. It's a both way kind of a sword, that they could harm someday, they could harm themselves as well. So you are
Yeah.
very much right that we have, mental health check on these people as well. But the thing is that I think if technology is that advanced and you have a lot of, you could say, check on a lot of things. For example, you could have tracker for everything. So maybe you could put some kind of tracker on the person, on the child, or on the weapon as well. So at least some authority is going to, because I don't think so that it could be difficult for someone to monitor these things. Or as a human being, we could possibly prevent a lot of things, because when some incident happened, you can warn for that for quite longer period of time, because there were small children involved in that. But that these kind of mass shooting is not just stick to education institution.
Yeah.
People are capable of doing such thing in shopping mall as well. It could be a religious place as well. So at the end of the day, we have to do a lot of discussion on that thing. What
Yeah.
should we do and what should we do at the end? And the thing is that all things go to the authority, or all things go to the concern organization that monitoring these things. So maybe they could put more tax or something like that. What is your opinion that how they are going to prevent, or how they can prevent a person having a person who is very young having kind of these kind of thing in possession?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great question, right? If somebody can't purchase alcohol, why should they have access to purchase a firearm? And I think that we need to evaluate just some things that maybe are no longer fitting. I think the other part of that, and perhaps most importantly, to anything, to mental health, to violence in general, to assault, harassment, and the use of a firearm, is education. It is really what we teach people, and when we're not offering or requiring, maybe in a different capacity, a thorough understanding of these very heavy topics that do reach global audiences and affect people all around the world, then I think that that's really that's a disservice that we're doing. I think that, like I said, I think that there should be some type of firearm training. They should understand not only how to purchase a gun, but how to utilize it and how to utilize it with responsibility. So I think that education is a big thing. And I think responsibility is a big thing. And I think that you can tell a lot about somebody when you have made them wait for a long period of time before they purchase something. It tells a lot about you learn a lot. You learn about if they're responsible and accountable. And when you're having discussions with people, I think it can peel back a lot of these layers that are some individuals who come in and they're concealing very difficult traumas that they're carrying with them. And I think for the most part, I think people use guns in a responsible way. And we have to acknowledge that as well. The mass majority of guns are used by our militia and our military leaders and police officers and emergency personnel who do use their weapons to protect people, and some don't. And I think that we need to call to action both sides and really open up the discussion and do so in a way that is productive, like a conversation like this, versus it's right or it's wrong. And I think that we need to be patient enough to hear both sides and come to a common understanding and a common goal so that we are protecting people as a whole. And I think that's what people want. Everybody wants to feel safe. And that doesn't matter if you're behind a gun or in front of a gun, right? We need to be able to give everybody the same level of security.
Okay, I was
No.
talking about the incident. The news is with me. That is the incident is the news is it is I think NPR, something like that. That is the name of that website. Mass shooting across the U.S. leave dozen killed and wounded this weekend, and this is the news of June 5, 2020. A, a string of shooting left at least 15 people ahead and more than 60 others wounded in 8 states this weekend, and spams of gun violence that came as a nation continue mourning the lives lost in mass shooting last in Buffalo and Texas. Okay, so some incidents are mentioned. Gunfight in Chitango leads to 3 deaths. bullets tore apart a graduation party in South Carolina. And other heading is multiple weekend shooting rattle Arizona. A 14-year girl was killed and 8 others were injured during a shooting early Saturday on Phoenix Strip Mall, Associated Press reportedly. So 156 days, at least 240 mass shooting. Mass shooting also happened in Texas, Georgia, New York, and Michigan over the weekend, according to Gun Violence Archive, a group that tracked mass shooting. So there's a lot of incident, a lot of things are going on. Maybe people are not that much, because if you're too much into social media doing other things, people don't understand what is going around. But it is a big number that 156 mass shooting is not a small number. I mean, 156 days into 2022 and 246 mass shooting. So, and it's not just about education institution. It's not just about one place. There was a graduation party and there was a mall as well. So I think something very wrong is going around these things, and I don't know why these things are happening. But the thing is that it's very much required that the person who is holding that arm, we have to have a check on their mental health as well, because now over here a higher authority is have to you could say jump into that thing, because as a person we can do a lot of discussion, we can do a lot of discussion at home, we can increase the security as institution, but at the end of the day, and there's another thing as which I believe is that when those children and those people are hostage, then they must contact that, they're contacting that authority. And during that bargaining, the person should be so skillful, they should have skillful people to bargain with these individuals, so that they should buy some time, and that timing they should do some kind of intervention, so that at least they save a lot of people. I mean, if they cannot save the whole, but maybe they can save a lot of people who are being held in the hostage. But the thing is that what I believe is that uh, this is a kind of alarming situation that is going around, and people are not safe in any. Sometimes we see people are not safe at their home. People are not safe when they go outside. But the thing is that what kind of situation, what kind of environment we are giving to our young generation,
Yeah.
because there are states who have all the time, we could say there are places who have war going on, and that is a continuous war, and maybe that war is in that area for years, but that is another area which is, you could say, highly educated area or highly protected area. And uh, and these things are happening in these societies. These are not third world countries that we are talking about. We are talking about country who have a lot of money, who have $1 billion for everything, who have good security, who have good technology, and even then they cannot prevent these things. So what is your opinion that what is going wrong over there, and how we can prevent these things? Because I think without discussion, without thinking about that, without brainstorming the ideas, we cannot come to some conclusion, we cannot prevent these things.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. That's a question that everybody's asking. How can we prevent this? How can we mitigate these things? And I think part of it could be, right, we see it more frequently. It's happening more than it's ever happened before. And I think it's kind of like when people see how accessible and the news coverage that it gets, and the way that they can change lives overnight, right? For people who may be curious about what that's like. They say that there's a lot of copycats out there, and that in many ways started with Columbine. People wanted to do what the Columbine shooters did, and they've repeated this habit. And so I think when they see, oh, it's happening here and it's happening there, and look how easy this kid got it, and that 18-year-old got it, and that 14-year-old got it, and it happens everywhere. It's like we're increasing the accessibility, we're talking about it more, and it's like it becomes just a thing that people deal with. And on the one hand, we know that people are tired of it. What is the solution? People are working for that. And the other side is it's becoming something that just happens. And that's a dangerous point when you start to accept that something is happening, especially as it continues to increase in volume. That's a high number of mass shootings to happen in such a short period of time. And yet we hear about, maybe 5 or 10 of those, but that really is a large number of shootings. And if I had the answer to that, I wish that I could give that to you. And like I'll reiterate, I think that it really comes down to really understanding. I think to a lot of situations, right, you hear about perpetrators who enter schools or buildings or work or in the general public. Often they have a story too. They have something to tell too, and they're hurting too. In most cases, you don't hear about somebody who had a great life and a wonderful life and everything was going well, and then just one day they decided to do something tragic. Usually there's some kind of pain that the person is associating their emotions with, some kind of trauma that they're dealing with. And maybe that's not fully visible by the public or many other people, but typically you hear in situations they had a difficult home life, they were dealing with some type of abuse, they were having mental health issues. And so I'm not excusing or justifying any of the actions that people do. That's not that. I'm just saying that when we really do start to strip it back, it comes down to the same common thing. It comes down very diligent to speak on mental health and emotional health and psychological health, and really bring that to the forefront. As much as we bring any other type of education, then we can help potentially mitigate some of these emotions that people are filled with, especially as they deal with traumas, in hopes that they don't pass those traumas on to anybody else, in the hopes that they don't pass their pain on to anybody else. And so I don't have the answer. I wish that I had the answer. It's heartbreaking to see something like this happen on the news. And it's heartbreaking to see that people take it to that level where they feel like this is the thing that they have to do. They feel like that this is the way that they want to leave their life and their legacy. And, it's heartbreaking.
And the thing is that I know a lot of people don't have, because we all are questioning everybody. But the thing is, at least maybe we have started this discussion and somebody listened to this discussion and they start asking questions from themselves, because maybe they're in the position of authority and they could do something. Because when you look into these people, I mean, you look into the psyche of those who are doing these activities or doing these mass shooting, they always want to be the center of attention. So they are getting fame, because a lot of time people are getting a lot of, you could say, intention, or you are just like you said that they are copycats. So they are taking that much, you could say, intention to do these things, so that they came into the news and somehow they become popular. And I know that is not a good thought, but if a person is mentally sick, he could do anything, he could harm other people, and he could harm themselves as well. So I think it's a collective responsibility. It's not the proper responsibility of one person. It's the responsibility of parents. It's the responsibility of, and it's the responsibility of you could say of organizations and institutions as well, to sit collectively, to sit together and think about that, and brainstorming the idea that what we are going to do to give a safe environment to everyone. It's just not about the children, it's about everyone. It's about saving the generation. It's about giving a safe environment to everyone. So thank you so much for giving us time today. And I think this is the first step to discuss these things. This is the first step to come forward, and you could say we are this way. I think we are doing putting our own efforts into this, and this is what we could do best, to discuss about these things, to ask questions, to think about that, what we could do, how we can prevent these issues, and how we can give a safe generation, safe place to our to our people, to even to ourselves, and how we can live peacefully in our own homes. So thank you so much for coming to us today, and that was a discussion, and we will have such discussion. I hope the institution takes some preventive measure to to stop these things. And very soon we have some kind of laws against these things, against these mass shooting or this incident going on. And that was lovely discussion. Thank you so much for giving us time today. I'll see you in the next session very soon. Bye bye.